What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Simulation for the Nation, and welcome back to A Growing Understanding. Now, for those of you wondering where we went, let's just say we needed a little mid-season break. But the good news is we're back, and we're back in style. My next guest is a gentleman who I approached for some advice kind of early on whilst I was deciding if the whole YouTube channel creation was for me. As to be expected, some wise words were passed on, and these days I can see that he stands by those wise words and throughout his channel. His many loyal subscribers and followers across both YouTube and social media platforms. He is renowned for his creativity, his innovation, and original role-playing and storytelling across the FS franchise. On top of this, many of us have and probably still do use the Land Rover he worked tirelessly on to recreate the scripting and to bring the model to life. I am, of course, referring to and talking about Mr. Virtual Farmer. Virtual, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Lovely
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for taking the time out to come and join me here on Culver Park Farm. And thank you for and welcome to the Simulation for the Nation Combine Emporium, where we appear to have an array of different machines of all ages and, frankly, beauty. You mentioned that you'd like to look into a field that you perhaps haven't worked on before in Culver. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, this is a map that I I know very, very, very well at this point. And everything around the farm, I think I've worked many times.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe having a crack at Field 16. I'm not sure I've ever harvested it.
16 is a nice one. I did it once, I think, and I ended up hiring in a second combine to help me because I had a very small one. So
it is a pretty big combine, a pretty big field.
I think we will have to get cracking with that. What we should probably do, first of all, choose your weapon.
My weapon.
I will take whatever you don't take.
I think it's going to be one of the classes. I'm just trying to work out if either of them has a larger header than the other doing that field.
That is a great point. I think they're both 600s.
I think they're both 600s, yeah. Or you know what? I think I'm going to take the 208.
Nice, a fine choice.
It looks. They're both really nice mods. I've used both of them, but I think the 208 is just that slight bit further, bit better.
I'd agree with that. And the new update for this one is really good as well.
I haven't got to play with the update yet. So
there you go. That can be my treat. I am gonna not take the old Fort Street E512. I mainly brought this here because this is my favorite of all machines I've downloaded recently. But it's not going to be up to the task. Bless it. So what I will do though is just scoot it back a little bit so you can actually get past me.
I love that engine.
Listen to it purr.
That is so rickety.
Isn't it just? It's glorious. And like, if you get on top of the combine, it's actually like vibrating and rocking on its mounts.
Oh, really?
It is hilarious. It's so good.
There is a ladder up the back here. Oh, it's not going to let me.
Not going to let you. I will climb into the combine there and have a quick look see. It is just shaking. It's fantastic.
That is brilliant. I love that engine animation.
And this is a machine that we can do lots of things with. Let me show you. I can. You got a problem with the belt on the side? No problem. We'll have a look at those.
Oh wow!
And
I love mods that go and put this level of detail in.
Exactly, and when you have the header on the front and you actually start the thresher up, all these other pulleys turn.
Yes.
Beautiful. Anyway.
So yeah, I don't think it's up to the job, but yeah. Wow, I may have to go and have a little bit of an experiment with that.
It's glorious.
I have somewhere where I might be able to use that.
It is fully recommended by myself. Now, I'm going to follow you up first of all with a tractor and trailer because I feel like we're going to need quite a few of those, and then I will come back and get another combine as well, and we'll have at it. I think that might be the best way to go. So I shall go first.
Right, I will jump into the Mega.
I will give you a little bit of an escort down the road because you you more than likely know that the residents of Culver are mean when it gets to motorway driving.
Yes, oh yes. I've actually got to the point where I have traffic turned off on most of my maps now.
It's almost that point, yeah. Particularly if you ever want to utilize courseplay or AI workers or anything like that, that it's just going to be inevitable that they'll crash immediately.
Oh no! Oh, he's taken out my header.
Look at him. Oh, you still got it somehow.
I'm dragging it along the road. Hang on. This is one of those combines where it's large enough that you could actually travel along the road with the header.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to turn off the traffic. We'll pretend that it was never there. That the viewers don't have to know. And then if I just face it away from you, no one will see that there's a collision behind me. I would just wing it down the road with the header on the front.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'm gonna just turn around, leave my header trailer here, and wing it down.
Again, they'll never know. We'll just, we can cut that bit out. It's fine. Skillfully done, though.
There we go.
You managed to salvage that situation pretty well.
I'm used to it.
It's not your first time.
There we go.
So we are going to 16. Okay.
One thing I do tend to get pulled up a lot on my live streams, although less on my videos, is not having my beacons on when I'm travelling down the road.
Yeah, it's something that is very easily forgotten. Let's just say, particularly when you're on a live stream and you're looking at chat, you're monitoring, making sure the stream's going through okay. You're driving, and I've only started live streaming recently, and I'm figuring out that it's not as easy as I thought to multitask like that, and hence my driving is atrocious on live streams, really atrocious.
It's one of those things. Some live streams I'm absolutely fine for. I have everything set up so that I can easily get and easily see everything just by shifting my head a little bit. But there are some streams where I end up just panicking.
And if it's going to go wrong, it might as well go wrong in a big way.
Yeah. It happened on the West Coast one not too long ago. I think I ended up with over 100 people in the stream, and I just lost it completely.
That's awesome.
I must be approaching the field. Yes, I am.
Yeah, I am parked just by the gate. The gate is fortunately... You might have to get square onto it, but I think you'll be able to sneak inside. I'm going to park this one here.
Should be able to. The gates, as I remember on this map, are actually wider than they look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'll easily get in that gate.
Perfect. Well, I am going to let you get started.
He says.
Breathe in.
Yeah, there we go.
Lovely. I'm going to run super quick down to the store and pick up another combine. And, and then we'll get cracking. Oh, I've crashed. Where am I going? There. Too soon. Okay. So to kind of just get everything rolling, as I always do when I start an interview off with any of my guests, I like to just kind of rewind first and foremost. I like to kind of just get an understanding as to a bit more about how you first discovered Farming Simulator and the franchise, and where that kind of fascination for it came from. So with that in mind, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us starting from scratch, really, when you first discovered it, how you discovered it, and what was the main fascination from your perspective.
So Farm Sim is one of those interesting... When I first came across it with FS13.
Okay.
And the hilarious thing about when I came across it with FS13 was I dismissed it out of hand. I really went, who's going to want to do that? Who's going to want to play, drive around in a tractor? And I should point out, it goes back further than that, in that I played the original Sim Farm back in the 90s.
Oh wow! Okay.
So that's where really I'm coming from as a player of a farming simulation game. And I was very much more of the, I've got to manage the farm and send tractors out and things like that. And so I saw FS13 and went, but you've got to get in the tractors and do stuff. I want to manage the farm.
Yeah.
And then it didn't help that a friend of mine basically got it, jumped in the tractor and drove around the map like a madman. And that was my introduction to Farm Sim. And then when FS15 came out, it was on offer on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, well, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna buy it, and I did, and then I got into a bit and started getting a bit impatient waiting for it, and so went on to YouTube and started looking for some farm sim videos, and that's when I came across Landy Kid.
Oh, okay.
And was watching a lot of his stuff. I mean, at that point, I was watching his stuff religiously, day on, every day. I'd watch new video, I'd watch old stuff. I would,
yeah. No, I've been there.
And came to the conclusion, A, that I was really looking forward to this game, and it was taking way too long to turn up. And B, that I could do the YouTube thing. I could do this. I could record videos and I could get them out and do that. And so I got FS15. And about 6 months later, after I'd got really used to the game, I created my channel. And then the twins came along, and
everything else stops.
that sort of put the kibosh on the channel actually launching.
Yeah.
And it was another year before I was able to launch the channel. And so May 2016, the channel went live, and I posted my first episode.
Oh, look at that! And it's been non-stop and not looking back since then.
Not at all. I set myself a ridiculously difficult thing to do. I basically said I am going to release a video every single day.
Oh wow, good lord!
And for the first year and a half, I did.
That is a lot of
and that included Christmas Day.
Wow, that's a lot of dedication. That is big.
And then and it is it started paying off November 2016 when I managed to start talking to Landy and Rainbow Dave and Sim and Chris. And Dave actually gave my channel a big push at that point.
Oh, nice.
And that's when I hit my first 500 at that point.
Oh wow! And to put that into some perspective, you're just about to reach 4,400. Is that correct?
I surpassed 4,400 this evening.
Oh, well, there you go. Congratulations.
Which is quite cool. I'm on a good target for the channel to hit 5,000 by its second birthday at the moment, which is just, to me, that's incredible.
Yeah, that is really good, actually. That's phenomenal work. Well, that's really something to be proud of.
Yes.
And so, from what I've picked up on, like within your streams at least, and on when I try and get in as frequently as possible, you originally come from a farming background. Is that correct?
I do. I grew up on a farm. My dad owned a farm, okay. and I used to between university semesters, I would come home and I would work on the farm. So I did a lot of harvest, a lot of wheat and barley and grain harvest, and
nice.
And potato harvest as well, and also work on the sugar beet harvest too. So a lot of my experience actually doing stuff on the farm is harvest time.
Nice.
But I have done a lot of stuff sort of at other points of the year as well. And I actually, one of the things that I really want in in the next version of Farm Sim is fruit harvest.
Oh, yeah,
so
that'd be really good.
doing fields of strawberries.
Oh.
And that's because I ran the strawberry fields for my dad for a couple of seasons.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good.
Which would just be, it would be awesome to be able to basically do that. I'm not 100% sure how they would do it, but it would just be an awesome thing to have.
It would be. We used to have like a pick your own field or pick your own farm near where I grew up, and it was kind of a rite of passage really that any of the young kids in the area, when they got to like kind of 13, 14, 15, would be sent there to work like a Saturday or a Sunday, you know, and just get on your hands and knees and pick strawberries. And we all did it. We all went through it.
Well, I was fortunately the guy running around in the forklift moving the big pallets of strawberries that had been picked.
You got the cushy job there.
I got the cushy job. And I used to have to go around all the local shops and sell boxes of strawberries.
Oh, what a summer gig.
Absolutely brilliant. And that's part of where my love of Land Rover came from.
Yeah, okay.
In that I had a Landy that I spent the entire summer driving around in. A really nice Defender 90.
Ah, that's awesome. Well, there you go. So, you've been kind of in and around Farm Simulator from kind of 13 onwards. Is there a particular version between 13 and now which is your favourite version, or is there a kind of a facet of each individual version that was so appealing to you? So, like, you know, the addition of a certain crop type or a certain brand that really, really like pulled you further into the game.
I think my experience with 13 is very, very limited. But 17 to me has just been an absolutely amazing version.
Yeah.
And when the first previews of 17 came out, everybody was looking at it and going, "Oh, that's not a massive improvement over 15. That's just 15 with a few extra bells and whistles."
Yeah.
And it was just so far beyond that it's, it was unreal. And yes, to me, 17 is the pinnacle of Farm Sim at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny because like everyone, you always think that, and over every kind of the evolution of the game, it's exactly as you say. It's like, well, this is just the same, but with something shiny attached to it. But then when you pour so many hours of time into playing on this any particular map or on just on the platform in general, you suddenly realize that it's so much smoother and more seamless, and that they've optimized so many small things that don't scream and shout at you from the beginning, but just make everything effortless as you're playing through there. And it's little things like that you don't necessarily see on the big promotions, but it's just something that's really continues to increase that enjoyment you'll find. And I have no doubt if they didn't do those things that the immersion factor wouldn't be there for myself, and I'm sure many people like me, and we would have all switched off.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's one of those things where, and part of the reason why I love Harvest, why I love doing this, is because I get in the combine in this game like this, and I'm right back.
Yeah.
I'm immediately sent back 20 years, going, this is almost exactly, and I know that it's unrealistic in that I'm sitting here and looking at the screen, but the feel of it,
it triggers so many internal memories of sitting on when you were too young and you're out spending the day with your dad in a combine, just sitting on the floor or sitting on a little cushion or something and just whiling the hours away, to when you were old enough to start to actually lead corn in the summer. All these memories come flooding back the second you start Harvest, and it's crazy. It's
one of those things. I grew up on a farm, and yet still I wrote into a certain TV show asking if they'd fix it for me to drive a combine. And that's the thing. And course, I got to do it because lived on a farm and grew up, and eventually I could sit on the combine and drive it myself. But you know, that thing of wanting to do this was there from a very, very young age, and you know, I had all the Britain's farm toys and all that kind of thing, and yeah,
I was probably a health and safety hazard in my house for my parents because there'd be like trailers tucked under seats and, you know, tractors parked in the edge of my carpet field somewhere, like with the light switched off at night and someone would come running in and slip on them. I had to leave them there because that's what my dad did in real life. He parked them up and left them at night, so I had to do the same. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay. It's probably a good job we didn't fertilise this field, because I'm very impressed with being able to make it all the way around with what am I, about 3/4 of a tank here? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I was about 90% when I unloaded just now.
So a point for the 118, bigger grain tank. There you go.
Yeah, which surprises me. I'd have thought the 208 would have had a slightly larger tank.
The one thing I don't like about this 118 is that I can't lower the ladder when you're actually rolling. I hate that some of these machines have scripts in them where the second you unfold the combine, in inverted commas, it lifts up the ladders. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I could probably change it with a quick look in the script, but then I'm not that good at script, so I'd probably just break the whole thing.
That's where my forte is.
Well, we shall be coming onto that very shortly. I don't want to get
Yes.
don't want to give too much away. So, with again, like kind of both strapping onto the back of the same discussion, really. Was there ever a feature within the games that just really caught you by surprise? That was like, wow, I can't believe that they've managed to develop this feature or this mod within the game. This is just like mind blowing.
There is one mod that has absolutely blown me away in the last year, and that's Seasons. The Seasons mod has changed the game to the point where it is utterly recognizable from where it was when it launched.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those mods where at the time it came out, or before it came out, because I was lucky enough to preview it for about I think it's probably 4 to 6 months before it actually got released.
Okay.
While they were still developing it, and while doing that, absolutely using it all the time. But it's not, unless you use it in a very careful way, it's really not helpful to making YouTube videos.
Yes, yeah, and that's a lot of the criticism that the community would have around it.
Unless you're very careful with it, it can kill a series very easily.
And the thing is as well that you're no doubt very much aware of, if you, let's say you start, suddenly it times it so that you start 2 new game saves at the same time. Let's say Oakfield and the West Coast came out on the same day, for example. You would start a series on both, which means you're slap bang in the middle of cultivation in spring on both of them. And so it's very monotonous from one series to another, so you have to really think about how you're going to work the game, that you don't end up just switching off one map, loading up the other one, and doing exactly the same thing again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what happened with Ballincraig and Oakfield.
Yeah.
I started them within a week of each other, and they started, I'm doing cultivating and seeding on Ballincraig at the same time as I'm doing the same stuff on Oakfield.
Yeah.
The thing there was that Ballincraig is on a 3-day season rotation, and Oakfield is on a 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and Ballincraig very much, because it doesn't have the day or any information like that shown on screen, because it's all got its HUD hidden all the time. It's I'm able to stagger it a bit more. Yeah. So Ballincraig is now actually a lot further ahead in the year than Oakfield.
Oh, That's a good job. And it's nice when you're able to keep that as well. I do think that's very important. And I like to... I run very large seasons, so I'm on 9 or 12 day seasons because I like to. I have on the oak field, for example, I have dairy cows, and I make a huge crop of silage and fill the pit with silage, or make a whole load of silage bales. And if you have a too short a season window, you don't use them all by the time the grass is growing back, and you find yourself stuck with this whole pit full of silage. So I like to try and stretch that season out and make it last longer. And yes, it's a challenge to kind of fill the windows, but I think that's what I kind of enjoy, trying to find the ways to make something new and innovative and a little bit different. And
I find myself unable to sort of sustain anything over 6 days.
Okay, yeah.
I find I'm spending too long in a season and having to do too much of the same thing. And one of the things I set out when I came back, I did 2 or 3 series where I didn't use it.
Yeah.
And came back to it and went, right, I have to plan this very carefully, and I have to have every episode has to be something different. So if I'm cultivating in one episode, then I can't cultivate again for a long time and things like that. And so what really helps that actually is doing live streams.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Oakfield has an entire series of behind the scenes live streams that do all of those things that would otherwise be really repetitive. Because the live stream is a time where you can do that stuff, because the live stream is different because of the interaction with the audience.
It doesn't matter if you're just drilling a field for an hour, because your focus is more on the audience and the interaction and the more relaxed approach, really, which is
exactly.
Which is something that I'm only just starting to get into, but that's another question for a little bit down the line. But hey, we are flying through this field. Look at us go.
We are.
I'm going
to cut into it. I'm going to do some realistic harvest.
Yes. I get cutting. I am. How are we doing with the trailer there? Do I need to get another one?
I don't know. I think we might be all right for now.
Okay. All right then. Well, what we'll do then, we will just take a little break. That could be the end of part 1, and we'll come right back to you with part 2 in just a second, guys. Okay guys, welcome back to part 2 of a Growing Understanding with Virtual Farmer. We are essentially the A team of combine drivers, it would appear. We're making the sterling job of this field of wheat. It's not our field, but we're just combining it for whoever owns it anyway. So, regular viewers, I had an idea about this question, but I want to kind of split it down into 2 parts. So we'll kind of focus on live streams, which we've touched on a little bit there, and then we'll also focus on your Let's Play series as a whole, really. If we look at your live streams, now we mentioned that it's a great opportunity to to kind of do any off-camera work and to kind of relax and interact with the audience and kind of develop that relationship a little bit more, I guess. What would you say was the most important thing you learned about starting to live stream, or what would be any key advice you would have? For example, I am currently, I would say I think I've done 5, maybe 6 live streams, so I'm very much still fresh into it. So what would be your key wisdom you would pass on about it, I guess?
The key thing about a live stream, because I preface this by saying I live streamed for a good year a good year actually, without any kind of decent internet connection. So I was live streaming at 480p.
Oh wow!
And not doing HD, and yet still had a channel that was growing with good numbers in a live stream. And the reason for that, more than anything else, was interaction. So people didn't mind that the stream wasn't in HD, so long as I was talking and engaging and generally interacting with the viewers. They all enjoyed that, and that's only got better since I've worked out how to stream in HD. So I would have said the most important thing about a live stream is the audience interaction. If you get that bit of it right, then the rest just follows. Just becomes, really easy in it.
Yeah, and one thing I tend to notice is that, people aren't too worried if you're not being, in inverted commas, realistic, or, you're crashing all the time, because they can kind of appreciate that you might be crashing all the time because you're reading chat and you're responding to something, or you're, having to think about a question, which can distract you from the bigger picture, I guess. But it's fascinating to see now that you have like a YouTube community from your subscribers, but if you're just, when I started out, I just had Let's Play or uploaded videos, so the face, or you see the little the thumbnail appear when they subscribe to you or write a comment, leave a comment, but you never really get to know them until you actually have a chat with them on a live stream, and find out a little bit more about them, and so that's where it's kind of really interesting. But it's always that little bit daunting when you first start out to make that step up, I guess. It's kind of a big leap from sitting there making a video to talking for an hour, 2 hours a day, whatever it may be.
And the interesting thing, I think, with live streams is when I first did live streams, they were basically me talking to myself for an hour to 2 hours. I did a couple of live streams in FS15 where it was just me. and I did a couple of live streams on Smoke Down Fire where I had no viewers for an entire 2 hour live stream, a couple of times, no viewers at all. And one of them was so brilliant in that the live stream was half an hour behind me when I finished it. It had so many interruptions, and the internet connection had been so awful that the stream was half an hour behind me.
That's incredible.
And when I started, and when FS17 came out, I was doing live streams and would have 2 or 3 people at most come into the live stream.
Yeah, but then that's all you really need to get the conversation flowing.
Exactly. Anybody who ever turned up in the live stream, that's it. I would have them. I would go, right, I'm going to talk to you for an hour and a half now.
You may not respond
and engage with you for an hour and a half, because otherwise I'm just sitting here talking to myself for the next hour and a half.
But that's the thing, that is at least, even if if you had a live stream and I joined it and there was nobody watching and you're still talking, at least I know that you're there and you're talking and you're willing to interact, rather than, if you join a live stream somewhere and it's quiet and then suddenly you just hear a cough. It's like, oh god, someone's here. What are they talking, or are they just in the background? Whereas at least if I join and I know immediately that you are there and willing to ask questions and talk about what you're doing, then I'm more inclined to write something and see what's up.
I quite like sometimes just to pop into a live stream that somebody else's live stream that I know that doesn't have that many viewers, because it's quite a nice thing to just go and chat to somebody who is putting their heart and soul into trying to get this off the ground.
Yeah.
And having been there and knowing, right, I want to talk to you because I know what you're doing is so hard.
Yeah,
absolutely. So difficult to keep upbeat and sound interesting when you're live and nobody's watching.
Yeah, you come in with, for the first 5 minutes and you're full of joy and enthusiasm and this is great, and then after a while it's like, we're still drilling. No one's listening.
No one's listening. We're still drilling.
Fantastic. Now, if we kind of segue across to your Let's Plays, to your video series. Now, a lot of people, if we take, let's say, Bal and Craig, that we were just discussing on kind of off mic, I guess. Obviously, a series that is heavily kind of role played. You take on the persona of Eddie, I believe it is. Now, when you see a map like that, because you and I we have a kind of similar approach in terms that we both kind of have a role play. We do it. I like to think I do it in a slightly different way. I don't have like a character per se, but we both put a lot of time into the role play thing. When you first saw Bal and Craig, for example, where does the inspiration come from for Eddie? Where does the inspiration behind the storyline come from? And how do you work to maintain that through 10, 15, 20 episodes, or however long the series runs for? Where do you find inspiration for that?
So, Bal and Craig is my third roleplay series. I first had the idea about, I think it was about 8 months-ish after I launched the channel.
Okay.
And the map that I came across and went, this is small enough for me to do a roleplay, which I'll come back to in a minute, because that's something that's massively important. Was Kendall Farm. So
okay.
Nathan's Kendall Farm, which has a lot of versions, but is a fantastic little map. And so I did that, and it was one of those series that massively took off. And all I was doing was pretending to be a character and just filling in a little bit more backstory than I normally would for a Let's Play.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, and the first video that just went mad. It was for about a year. It was the most watched video on my channel.
Oh, wow.
And it was still getting viewers. It was still getting lots of new viewers in December last year, and that went out April last year. And I had no other video like it.
Oh wow! That's awesome.
And then I did a second one on Dusty Dave's Pemberley Farm.
Yep.
Which wasn't quite as popular, but I think part of that was to do with the fact that version of the map never got released.
Yeah. Okay.
And part of it was to do with me approaching it in a slightly different way. And I don't think as a series it worked quite so well.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then Bal and Craig came along, and I'd after Pemberley, I'd given the roleplay series a bit of a break, because I'm going, this isn't pulling quite as many viewers in. I want to try and do something different for a little while, and then I'll come back to the roleplay.
Yeah.
So Bal and Craig came along at a time when I was looking for a new roleplay map, and I'd actually recently sort of decided that I was going to do Altenstein. Was the map that I'd looked at, went, this has good sized fields, should be easy to work as a roleplay map. I'll come up with a storyline, which was where Eddie came from, and I will and I'll do that map. Oh, I think the trailer's full.
Yeah, I think I'll park behind you here, and I'll just go and get another.
Yeah.
T-Dub to the rescue. I'll bring another one.
I'd started plotting out this whole thing for Eddie about how he'd moved out to Germany to take over his grandfather's farm, and how he was an Englishman living in Germany, which gets me around the accent problem, and gonna do all of that. And then Bal and Craig came along. I looked at it and went, this is a perfect roleplay map.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the whole thing of a map small enough to roleplay.
Okay.
Because normally on a Let's Play, I will use course play, and I'll use, hired workers and all that kind of thing. But on a roleplay, it's not possible to do that easily without doing lots of edits and things. So a map small enough to do a roleplay on is one where you can just have you in a tractor and run the entire farm.
Yeah, and that's the fascinating thing, because it comes back to what we were saying before, that to make something like that work really well, especially with seasons, it can involve an awful lot of off-camera work. So, you know, like you say, Eddie will start mowing a field of grass for silage somewhere, let's say, you know, that field still has to be finished by the time the next episode starts, so you have to find that way to complete the kind of off-camera work, which could be a live stream, or it could be, you know, just you sitting there tidying it all up at the end of the day. But it's certainly something that...
And the great thing about that map and about the setup is that every single field is doable in a 30-minute vlog.
Yeah, okay.
So it's, you know, I can get everything that Eddie has to do in an episode done in one go, which is just fantastic. Okay. But the other great thing about Ballincraig is, in all honesty, it's not a perfect map. So one of the things that attracts people to it very early on is the fact that the yard's changed.
Yeah.
So I removed a barn. And so it's a living, breathing farm.
Exactly. And we had a discussion on Discord once about kind of the roleplay and kind of how you would go in and perhaps not, you know, make huge changes all the time, like whole barn changes, but just change some of the objects and scenery around the yard. You know, so like move pallets from here to here, move just objects that were there as if they were being used and moved in real life. You know, so like as if the next time you come back with Eddie's vlog, the farm is organically just being operating and working as you'd expect. So when you do come back, it's like, hey, this looks familiar but different. So it's kind of brings that intrigue, which I think is a really important thing to bring into it, because it effortlessly increases that immersion level from any viewer, I find.
Exactly, and that's the thing. The next few episodes I've got have a similar thing in that he's expanding the farm again. So
I see.
There's a new shed going to be going up at the end of the autumn months, and he's got a new field to work on and things like that. So it's, from that point of view, it also gives something to work on in the autumn and the winter when all of the harvest is done, and you know, keeps the series fresh as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people seem to be responding to that, which, you know, makes me massively happy.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, it can be a lot of work sitting in Giants Editor and removing things and tweaking things to make it look different, or, you know, adding buildings here or there. And so it's nice when you see that they are, you know, it's being recognised at least, and people actually really enjoy that and find that fascinating. But it's definitely something that would, to be honest, when I was kind of figuring out how I wanted to go, because I knew I wanted to create farm sim vlogs, content, however you want to define it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I also knew that a lot of people were doing this thing already, and, you know, it's kind of a flogged horse. So for me, it was important to kind of figure out what, like, a new approach to it, really. I want to just try and get myself straight here. Let me see. We'll go for that. Straight enough. So like I kind of look at some of like your content, and I was looking at everyone, like kind of some of the big, the most recognizable producers, let's say, and looking at what I enjoyed of everyone's content, what I like, bits I would kind of try and replicate, bits I would try and create on my own, and then I recognized that you had like this style in my mind that was completely out there from a lot of other people. It was bringing in, I could recognize and see like the real life experience you were drawing on, and then also you could see in your enjoyment of the game is also tangible, because those two things married together were coming through, and you could genuinely tell through every episode that, you know, this was something that you were really enjoying doing. You were enjoying the style and the twist the storyline was taking. So all these things were kind of coming together and really, for me at least, coming through in the video. So it's really something that if it works well, in my mind at least, if it works well and it's something that you're passionate about, it really does stem through to the final product, really.
My aim, I'm trying to think what it's called. The whole reason for the channel's being, and the whole approach I took when I first created it was absolutely going as realistic in the game as I could without forcing it, while at the same time trying to bring that knowledge to it. So I'm actually quite glad that comes through, because it is, the whole aim is trying to bring that realistic knowledge of what happens on a farm into farm sim.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the things I love about the game is that the game is flexible enough that you can either play it completely arcade style, and not have any realism to it at all, or put constraints on yourself to make it, fairly realistic. And I love that about the game. I really do.
Like if you really want, when you're farming like Ballincraig or the small fields of the West Coast, if you really want, you can bring in a big bud with a huge cultivator and all the money in the world, and you can farm that to your heart's content.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to kind of, replicate the realism and the real life struggles of a farm, then you scale it all down. There, you might have 1-2 tractors on a small farm, a few little bits of machinery, and that's it. And then you make do. And it's entire. If you get more enjoyment out of that, then so be it. That's perfect.
The interesting thing is that is the compromise I found that you have to make YouTube videos though.
Yeah.
Because quite often, I would probably, if I was just playing for me, I would probably pick smaller machinery than I do for when I'm making videos. Because to me, it's a lot of these farms are a bit more realistic with smaller machinery, because that's how I grew up. That's how I saw these farms when I was younger. And that's the thing, and it's one of the mistakes. It's one of the mistakes I actually made on the West Coast that I kind of regretted, especially with the combine. The combine I used on the West Coast was too small.
That was the old.
Doing YouTube.
Was that the 2058, the John Deere?
Yes.
Yes, I like that combine. That was nice.
A lovely combine. Horrible dirt map, but lovely combine. But its problem was it took too long to harvest a field. If you tried to harvest field 11 with that combine, you couldn't do it. It would take 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah,
but that was a realistic size combine for that map.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one thing that's very easily overlooked as well. When you see people, the funny thing that I always laugh at is when someone's like, "Yeah, I'm going to make a realistic series," and let's take Colbert for example, because we're here. I'm going to make it a realistic series, and I'm going to have I've got 4 arable fields, and I've got a 8-meter seeder, 4 brand new tractors, and the biggest combine I can get. And it's just like, it's easy to get carried away by the big machines and the big mods and implement integrating a huge combine because it's quicker to do a field. But at the same time, you would more likely have something like we're driving here, or older or smaller, to do such a small amount. And that's something that kind of gets lost unless you have that experience to kind of draw back on and kind of reset your standards, I guess, or your expectations.
The combine that Bullet Bill actually starts you on this map, the TC5.
Perfect, I think.
Perfect combine for this map.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely perfect size combine for this map. I did this map with an 890 though, because, well, it's not big 1090 size.
Yeah.
But it's big enough to get round a field in a decent amount of time.
Yeah, I
was going to say, that is a perfect example.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, full confession, I've done this map God knows how many times, like I'm sure you have, so I can't remember exactly every machine I've used. I know I definitely did it once with the New Holland, and then I changed it out once for on FS15. I changed out for a TX65, so something a little bit bigger, perhaps.
I used that on this map.
But I thought that was very fit. Oh, really, really nice. It fitted it perfectly. The header wasn't much bigger, probably similar to what we've got now, actually, but it was just like a good, when it came out at least, a good medium-sized combine, and it just did everything. Ideal. And yeah, but it was always be variations of that, like so like a Dominator would frequently make an appearance. You know, just kind of something around that kind of size. But yeah, I would never went for like a big 1090 or you know, the Massey equivalent, the biggest Massey in the game. Never go to that extent. But yeah, it is funny.
It's because the first time, because I played in 15, I played Cobra a lot before I started doing any YouTube, and then after I started doing YouTube, the Ultimate Edition came out for Cobra.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which was a lovely version of it, except that the creator went mad with the mud mod.
Yeah, there was a lot of mud, I recall.
And it just made the map in places almost unplayable.
Oh,
it certainly made it very difficult to use courseplay, because your tractors just get stuck all the time.
I remember when like mud mod was the thing that you had to include, and it was key to include it in like extortionately high amounts. Just like every single slight dip in the road, mud in there. Every gateway like just flooded with mud. It's like, come on, I just want to get through here. That'd be nice.
I love the mud mod because there are places on maps that on the map I'd like to create where I would put mud mod, because that is where mud was on the farm. But yeah, some of those maps just went mad with it. The one from 15 that I remember more than anything else is Smokedown Farm. Smokedown Farm had both the mud mod and the repair mod.
Oh,
and it meant that every mud hole you fell in, you damaged your tractor, and you could drive from the farmyard to the field and back and have to do a complete repair of the tractor.
So effectively, for like an episode, you get nothing done because, like, stuck, repair the tractor,
and it would cost you a fortune to get nothing done.
Right, I'm at 80%. I'm going to empty out again, I think.
Yeah, I'm at 88%.
Yeah, your lights have been flashing for a wee while longer than mine. So perfect. So we will go and empty these out here, and then we'll call this an end for part 2. We'll see you back here in just a little while. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to A Growing Understanding Part 3, and we have had a quick empty of the tanks. Virtual's kindly taken a load away to the store, and we're good to go. We're flying, Virtual. We're absolutely flying through this.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I may have not quite kept it square, but then you know,
we're not far off.
We've got a few little triangles in the bottom to play around with, but you know, we can just gloss over that bit. That'll be fine.
I'll put it this way: the combine won't be bouncing madly. We're not exactly going across the grain of the field.
Not quite. I mean, at one point it looks like I've tried my best down there, but never mind. As long as the field's cleared by the end of it, we'll be okay. That's the main goal. So, I touched on in the introduction there, Virtual, that I'm sure many people listening to this and many people across the Farm Simulator community will know about the work you put into a Land Rover Defender quite recently. Now, could you kind of give us a bit of a background as to how that happened and how you were able to? Because I understand it wasn't your model originally. You took the model with the permission of the original creator and then adapted it to make it what we know as of today. Could you give us a little bit of a background into that, please?
Yeah. So the Defender is the original model for it is one that you can purchase online.
Okay.
And basically I took that model and somebody had previously pulled that model into FS15. So in FS15, one of the signature things I had was I had a Land Rover with Virtual Farmer emblazoned all over it, and that would be the thing that was my signature piece.
Okay.
And so FS17 came along, and I went, I want the Landy back. I want to have that back in the game. So converted it across, and it didn't work. It had some fairly major problems. And so I went, I've got to have this in. I've got to have this working. And at the time, previously, what it had it'd been this Land Rover Dakar mod that, race suspension, had decals all over it, and basically nothing you would ever see on a farm.
Yeah, all the flashy toys that no one ever has there.
Exactly. And FS17 gave me the option to make all those features optional. So I went, right, okay, I'm going to strip this down and rebuild it from the ground up.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I took all the scripts, I reworked them all, and reworked the entire mod so that it became a usable, more farm-orientated Land Rover. I mean, there are aspects to it I still want to change, still want to alter. Perfect example is the seats. The seats are still the racing seats from the original model.
Yeah, okay.
And I'd love to put something in there that's more normal.
Yeah.
You get on a farm Land Rover, and things like the bumper and things like that. So I'm actually working on a new version of it at the moment that has the options slightly reworked, has proper Land Rover alloy wheels and steel wheels, so that it looks a bit more realistic.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually increasing the size by 10% because it's slightly too small, the current one.
Yeah, it was fractionally out of scale, but only noticeable when you put it up against other objects.
Exactly, and it wasn't. I had somebody stand next to it with the player character. We were, oh, how big is the player character? We went, actually, that is ever so slightly too small.
Yeah.
So I need to increase the size of that, and and that's the thing. It was one of those things. Right, I want to do this, but also I want to release it because it's a fantastic ambassador for the channel as well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons in the last few months that the channel's been doing well, because people have gone, oh, I love your Land Rover. Oh, and actually, I like your content as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way to bring people through.
It is, and it's a great way for people to, and perfect example is it's used by a fairly big YouTuber recently, who loves it, and he can't stop. He doesn't want to stop using it. Excellent. And that's given me a huge amount of growth recently for the same reason.
Nice.
So it's partly because I massively wanted it in the game, and it's partly because it's something that makes the channel stand out, and it's all part of this thing to promote me and get me out there.
Yeah, and it's also, if you look at like the in-game vehicles, when your Land Rover came out, there were very few kind of British farm vehicles. There's the Toyota Hilux that came out probably around a similar sort of time, and then after that there was like a transit van, which isn't really it's not what I would see immediately as your generic staple of the British farm. The Land Rover was for God knows how many years, and it was.
I think the other people that other thing that attracts people to it is I made it right-hand drive.
Yeah, that's
and
key.
There are no right-hand drive vehicles. Farm Sim, even the ones you just mentioned, none of those are right-hand.
They're not. Yeah, that's a crying shame, and hopefully we'll get something like that in a future version. But we shall see. But yeah, it is certainly nice to have it. And what would be fantastic is if there were a few more trailers and implements that are more suitable for a Land Rover to pull, so you could actually utilize it a little bit more within game. And have.
There is one trailer out there that works massively well with it, and that I use all the time with.
Okay.
Which is the Humbar trailer.
Right.
And it's just absolutely perfect trailer for it. And it has things like it extends ramps out the back as well, so you can use it as a flatbed as well as a trailer to just to carry stuff as well.
That is good.
So
That's awesome.
I tend to use that all the time.
Well, that makes sense. That makes absolutely perfect sense. And so, obviously, you know, you have a bit of a background in kind of scripting, so it's something that kind of comes kind of second nature to yourself these days. Have you any plans aside from the Land Rover moving forward, of any projects that you kind of have a fancy to fiddle with and see what you can make work?
Somebody sent me a while ago one of my absolute great loves in farming in general, and that I grew up with, are David Brown tractors.
The DBs.
And somebody sent me an unfinished 1210 a little while ago.
Ooh.
And I would love to finish it off. I really want to.
Is there a lot of work in finishing it, or is it little tweaks and finishing touches?
It lacks a center console at the moment.
Okay.
But I'm hoping I've got hold of some stuff recently that will help me rectify that. But that needs so like the Landy, what that needs is it needs a complete script overhaul, and also needs a complete retexture, because that was the other thing I did to the Landy.
Right,
was
okay.
I redid all the textures on it.
Wow.
To make it, you know, a lot more realistic and a lot more and a lot nicer looking, because it was all faded.
Yeah.
And so I had to bring all the colour back to it as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
Which was quite fun.
That. I wouldn't know where to begin with that kind of thing. I really wouldn't.
Well, I'm fortunate in that I have a background in web development. So I'm both prolific with I think that's the right word, with XML. So all the scripting that happens in farm sim mods, I deal with that on a day-to-day basis. But I've also been using Photoshop for 20 odd years.
I
see.
Okay.
I'm very used to sort of manipulating stuff in there.
Oh, nice, perfect.
Which is where the strength is. You know, as I said a few times before, I'm not a modeler. I have dabbled in making 3D mods, 3D models, but I'm not good enough to build a combine or a track.
Yeah,
like that. I need something to work from to begin with.
Particularly when you see the level of detail, and I'm gonna point out like a mutual love of ours, the two T-dubs parked up at the hedge line, and like the ability and the detail poured into those by MatXJS are just out of this world, and I just don't know how to
gorgeous.
even go about getting anywhere close to that kind of standard. It would take me decades. So like I would rather happily leave it to the people like MatXJS and the Peter J's of the world, who are, you know, phenomenal modelers in their own right. Just let them get on with it and let them do what they want to do, because it's not worth my time to try. I just couldn't. It wouldn't be fair.
I couldn't approach that level at all. And as I said to you before we started, I've sat in the seat of a real TW25. We had one on the farm, and it is uncanny, the inside of Matt's T-dubs.
Absolutely.
It is just like sitting inside a real one.
And it's phenomenal to think, for like a lot of these machines, it's built off of, it might not be built off of first-hand experience, so it might just be research you can find on the internet, YouTube videos, brochures, photos, to replicate it so precisely from kind of second-hand material. It's just stunning.
It is absolutely amazing. I mean, I would swear that he must have...
He must have had access to one somewhere.
He must have had an actual T-dub to work off. Because it's just... The level of detail is absolutely ridiculous in it.
Yeah.
And they're massively well-optimized mods as well. They're not... You know, they're not high poly or anything like that. They are... He's achieved that level of detail without sacrificing the actual playability of it.
Yeah, And all from a self-taught standpoint as well. It's not, not
absolutely.
a background in software or modeling or game design development. It's all just something as a hobby that's turned into so much more. Really, it's incredible. It really is stunning. Okay, so
Cutting again.
get cutting. I'm coming behind you. Look at this, nearly finishing the block. I do like the idea of, farmers perhaps clinging onto older machines and having like a fleet of older combines.
Ooh.
Are you full?
Guess who forgot to empty his grain tank?
Okay, stand by. I shall bring a trailer down. Yeah, I like the idea of maybe it's not the most cost-effective way of doing it, I'm sure, but to have like a fleet of older combines rather than say one big class selection. Still, I like the idea of seeing 3 old dominators in the field or megas or whatever they may be, rather than one 770.
We did it. We used to have we had a couple of John Deeres. When my dad was resisting upgrading his combine, we had a couple of John Deeres, which is part of the reason why I used the 2058s on the West Coast, because I'm pretty sure that's what we had.
Nice. They were pretty big combines though back in their day. They were.
Oh, absolutely.
They were sizable.
But we suddenly jumped from having. I think we jumped from having something like 1,500 acres to 2,500 acres.
Oh wow, that's a hefty jump.
Oh yeah, and suddenly one of those was just not enough to.
Yeah. Particularly with
not enough to get the harvested.
The ever reliable British climate, you can never quite get everything done.
Yeah, one wet summer, and that was it.
There's a very what is it? Is it a Grassmen documentary, or part of like one of their previous DVDs, where they went to a place in Lincolnshire, I think, and the guy has like a massive farm. Like the acreage is like just obscene, huge. Like it has 2 class selections to get through it these days. But his fleet of tractors are all John Deere 7810s because he loves them. They're so reliable. Some of them are more expensive now than they were when he bought them, so they've been an investment, and like he has collector's editions versions now, and like they all look immaculate. And it's really fascinating to see this huge modern scale farming operation clinging on to like 15-year-old tractors because he's like, nope, I don't want to change. These are too good.
Yeah. It's like I want to. I would love. Actually, do you know what? I would love to own a David Brown.
Oh yeah.
I think if I tried to buy one at the moment, it'd probably end up in divorce. But I would love to own one, and they're not that expensive. Is the crazy thing.
Would you get a battered one that would require restoration, or would you want like a fully operational David Brown?
I don't think I'm overly looking. I think I'm looking to own one rather than restore one.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately I wouldn't have the time to restore it. I wouldn't be able to actually get it done.
Yeah, that's the thing. And typically, I'm sure that if there's a David Brown out there that needs restoration, it will need a lot of restoration. It won't be like just a quick touch-up, a change of oil, a new fan belt. It will be everything.
You're going to be pulling the whole thing apart. Rebuild.
Absolutely. There we go. Awesome. So, as we progress through our little list, we're getting quite close to the end here. Header down. That'll help. There we go. You may recall many months ago, I was kind of mulling over the decision of how I was going to approach like starting my channel, and how I was going to go through it. And I messaged you on Facebook. We had like a bit of an interchange of messages of kind of like advice you had for me starting up there, and lessons and tips you'd learned. If there's anybody out there now watching this who's thinking of the same thing, how do I start? How do I go about starting Farming Simulator YouTube channel? The pitfalls of it all, and the one key piece of advice. What would you pass on to that person?
I think there are probably 2 or 3 pieces of advice that I would have. The first is stick at it. It is going to be a very, very long. You get some people are very lucky, and they shoot up in a massive number of subscribers from day one.
Yeah.
But your average YouTuber, you are going to be doing this for a long time for very little return.
Yeah.
And by that I mean I think for my first 6 months I was getting excited when 15 people were viewing a video. And that's the thing. If you're putting that much effort into it, it's got to be a labor of love. It's got to be something that you are happy doing for no return at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with YouTube's new rules.
Yeah, and
the second thing is to look for collaboration, to make connections. So for me, that means going into live streams and being friendly and talking to people. And a lot of mistake a lot of new YouTubers make is they will go into a live stream and they'll go sub for sub or check out my channel, subscribe to me, and an awful lot of people will go ban, and kick that person out. Whereas if you go in and you chat and you're friendly, then more often than not, what will eventually happen is the YouTuber will go, I quite like this guy. I'll give him a push. I'll give him a boost up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're friendly like that, then you will make connections. And then any chance you get, collaborate. Fully collaborate. So things things like this, things like multiplayers where you're doing a multiplayer with somewhere else. Hell, even the Landy is an example of a collaboration. It's something that gets out there and goes, here I have something of value to give to your channel. Yeah.
Rather than, like you say, just sitting there going, hey, I've got a YouTube channel, come and look at this.
Exactly. And people won't tend to find you if all you do if you don't get out there and put yourself out there, but in such a way that that isn't rude. I think is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you put the other person's if you put other people first, invariably people will turn to you and go, oh, let's put him first then.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're you mentioned there like the new changes to the YouTube monetization, and if you were looking to start up a channel today with the aim of becoming the next big thing and making a lot of money off it, first of all, that's not going to happen. You're never going to make that much money off it overnight anyway. And secondly, if that's the only reason you're doing it, then your content is going to show that, because the enjoyment won't be coming through. Like we've touched on before, you have the enjoyment there, and it's evident because you like the platform. It's something you enjoy creating, and you like the live stream interaction, and that's a tangible feeling that we can all see there. But if you're just there to try and kick up numbers, that's going to come across and kind of push people away.
And even myself, I've been guilty of that at times. I mean, part of the reason I'm certain that part of the reason why the second half of last year wasn't as good for me as the first half was because I lost sight of that, because I was doing it for the numbers at that point and not for the enjoyment.
Yeah.
And the moment I stopped doing that, the moment I took a step back and went, I need to get the enjoyment back in this, was the moment things started to pick up again. It's people pick up on it really easily.
Yeah, no, I suppose to do that, because particularly if you look at your general kind of approach to it, your enthusiasm. If your enthusiasm isn't there because you're down about numbers not being great for the last week or whatever, then it's like, well, Virtual's content's kind of dipped. I'm not going to watch this anymore. I'm going to go and watch insert name of new YouTuber. It's just going to be how they proceed. Now, we have just finished that field. We've probably got a little bit more, about another 10-15 minutes left. Shall we go and attack another one quickly? We can. Let's go here.
Whoa.
We can go. We don't own it. We can go to number 9 and just take the headlands off the field that we've probably all taken the headlands off about 1,000,000 times before.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So
Yeah, gateway isn't too far away.
love it. Now that gateway on the road's a narrow one, so we'll have to go up the farm track, I assume.
Yes, because we won't get these headers in.
No. I love the noise of these.
The gates are
dominators.
open, so.
Put some lights on. There we go. No, I'm definitely legal. Perfect. Alright then. Where am I on my list? Here. So, as we get to the end of it, obviously we're all aware now that there's the looming FS19 on the very near horizon, really. We're starting to see a lot of promotional footage coming through, a lot of screenshots of the over the last kind of week or two as well. Do you have any... what are your current expectations, I guess? What would you like to see? What do you expect that we'll see? And are there any... I guess also the third question to that would be... There's a lot of talk about, you know, a big brand come in. Who would you like that big brand to be? Or who would you like to see coming into the game?
I think that the thing that most people seem to be thinking is that it's going to be one of two big brands coming in. It's either going to be Class or John Deere.
Yeah.
My hunch, my feeling is it's going to be Class. I think Class have an awful lot to offer to the game, and I would be very happy to see them in the game. Having said that, there's an awful lot of stuff recently that also suggested that it could be John Deere. I mean, and by this I mean that it's the wildest of wild rumours.
Which we all thrive on, by the way. We love those.
Oh, absolutely. But it's enough to, you know, it's a little thing like I think somebody said that John Deere on their Facebook page had said we're looking into the possibility of this opportunity.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people immediately went, John Deere are going to be in FS19. Whereas last year, Class gave a very much more definitive answer of, we're going to be in Farming Simulator next year.
Yeah.
And a lot of people went, well, that's either a DLC that's coming out, or in 17, or they're going to be in FS19.
Yeah.
So I'm unless that deal has fallen through, I'm very much expecting Class to be in the game.
I think.
And I think from that point of view, they have a lot of machinery, they have a lot of bits and pieces that they can bring in. So it's not just combines and tractors, it's trailers and tedders and windrowers and you know, Class have an awful lot of equipment.
They really do. I think as well, I mean, obviously we don't know anything about the cost of license or the license agreements and what they entail, but I would imagine someone like John Deere would be significantly more expensive to lure in than Class, just from the sheer magnitude of the brand. And if that's the case, if they went for Class, then there's nothing to say that they couldn't also bring in an additional smaller manufacturer. You know, like perhaps a more North American based manufacturer, not necessarily someone like Kubota, but someone small like a Vermeer or someone like that, where they bring in different implements just to kind of freshen it all up. And if that was the case, after you, sorry.
Go on.
I was going to say, yeah, if that's the case, where, you know, we can get 2 or perhaps 3 brands in for the cost of John Deere, I don't mind seeing Class. I'd love to see Class. I think they offer, like you say, they offer so much. What I would love to see, if it was the only thing I'd potentially love to see with John Deere would be some of the older tractors, because there are some great mods for new tractors. You know, some of the R series, for example. There's some great mods out there we can find. But I would love to see a very high quality old John Deere tractor come in. That would be great. And that's something that Class wouldn't really be able to cater to because the range simply isn't there. But you get like an old, something like an old 3050, and then going back over to a really old Model A or something. You know, really giving you a whole range of possibilities. But either way, I think I'm looking forward to it. In terms of like features, is there anything that you would love to see? I know you mentioned earlier on like berries would be a great opportunity. So fruit production. Any scripting or any gameplay features you would like to see come through?
I think that seasons at this point has to be a given.
It has to be, yeah.
I would be amazed if they didn't turn around and have seasons or at least a cut down version of seasons as a default option in game.
Yeah.
It's been so massively popular and done so well that I don't think they can ignore that.
No, I think you're right.
The other thing I really, really want to see, and that I think they need to get in there because their competitors are doing it as standard, is IC control.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's been in mods since, well, I know it was in 13. It may even been in as far back as 11.
Oof, I think
and it just,
right, yeah.
And it just makes me think, why is such a simple enhancement to the immersiveness of the game not in the game as standard?
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that clearly it's very easy to integrate because so many modders are able to do it. So it's not like it's something that is very complex. The big question
I have seen since I've started voicing this has been, well, how would you do it on console? I think you could do it on console. I think you could have a button that activates IC, and then possibly have each door assigned to a button that opens and closes it.
And I think it was Black Sheep Modern had a limited version of IC on the Massey Ferguson pack. You could certainly open like the back window and the door, I think.
Yes, because I have that Massey on the interior, and it works in the same way as the front loader does.
Yes, exactly.
So it's mouse control. Trouble is, my joystick assignment, when I'm lifting and lowering the front loader, opens the door from time to time.
The doors are just flapping open when you're doing the loader work. I love it. Alright guys, well at this stage we're going to take our third and final break very quickly, and then we'll go a few little quick questions and we'll get everything wrapped up here, so do stay tuned and we'll come back to you very shortly. Okie dokie, welcome back to the fourth and final part of A Growing Understanding. Thanks for sticking with us all the way through to this point. I'm here with Virtual Farmer, and we've just got a couple of quickfire questions, but before we get to those, Virtual, what would you... Obviously, we touched on earlier that your channel just reached a quite a significant milestone in terms of its growth and its subscribers. We're now a shade over 4,400. Do you have any aspirations for the future growth of your community and of your channel? Are there any further targets you have in mind?
So this has been, so far this has been a very strange year. I'll be honest. The end of last year, as I said earlier, I was a little bit of a low point. My target for last year had been 5,000 subscribers, and I failed to hit 3,000 at the end of the year.
Okay.
And so this year, I set my target for the year based on the growth I had at the end of last year as 3,500.
Oh, wow.
I kind of smashed that the third week in January. And so my new target for the year I set at that point at 5,000. And if I hit 5,000 for the year, I will be very, very happy.
Excellent.
You know, that will be absolutely fantastic. My current rate, I'm probably going to do it before the end of next month.
Wow.
Which would just be absolutely amazing.
Now, the big question with that, Virtual, will there be a happy dance, or will we be seeing you singing live on a live stream, or what will the celebration be?
I was going to say the happy dance, which was absolutely ridiculous, was one of the few things at the end of last year that really seemed to resonate with people. I have brought the happy dance back.
I did see it this evening on the night of recording. Yeah, it made a little appearance there.
Yeah, it's well, as of last Sunday, I have new rules for the stream. So my aim at the moment is to have 50 likes in a stream.
Yeah.
If I have 50 likes, that's great. That's awesome. With the number of viewers I get, that's what I'm aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
If I hit 100 likes in a stream, there's a happy dance because, you know, I'm doubling the number of my target. If I hit 150, I sing. So, yeah, that's what happened on Sunday night, which was one of the most insane streams I've ever done.
I wasn't around
tonight,
on Sunday. What was the song of choice?
Is my staple, is my signature song on my channel, which is I've got a brand new combine harvester.
But that's fair enough. That's a solid song to go with.
Yeah. So yeah,
fantastic. So essentially, for everyone who is listening to this now, keep an eye out for the next few weeks because you're gonna get a visual and no doubt audio treat in the not too distant future.
if it keeps going the way it was, because yeah, 100 likes is out of the realm of possibility for me most of the time. I'm gonna go and grab a tractor. You know, it's not something that I've often hit. And I've now had 2 live streams in 3 days that have both gone over 100 likes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's nuts to think about.
It really is. And tonight has been a perfect example of things as well. In that I had regularly for most of the stream over 50 people in there.
Yeah.
And it's just all gone a bit mad recently. So yeah, it's in a good place at the moment. But I'm part of my other thing is I'm concentrating on the one thing on my channel that I can control, and that is watch time. If I can keep the watch time up, I don't mind. I don't mind when I have a drop in viewers. I don't mind when I have subs. I know if the watch time relatively stays up,
yeah, then
those 2 things will go back up.
And then at least as long as those who are viewing it are still enjoying it enough to stay, then you're doing something right.
If I've got people watching the majority of a video, YouTube are going to promote the videos. So at that point, I know that I have. I know that I don't need to worry about it. It will come back.
Yeah.
It's when that watch time drops. At that point, I worry about it. And I go, right, what do I need to change?
Yeah, what happened there? Definitely.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, that is kind of like the end of our proper serious questions. So you've passed the test so far. We've got a few quick fire questions whilst I actually remember to press unload. So first quick fire question is favourite map of all time across any genre of the game?
Oakfield Farm.
Oakfield Farm.
Absolutely. That map is a map I want to play and play and play and play.
Yeah, and do you know what the funny thing is about that? Like I mentioned it to Landy the other day. You know when you're playing a series, like a Let's Play series or like a live stream of a map, and in your mind, back of your mind, you have like an idea that, okay, this might last for maybe 20, 30 episodes, or that's where I'd like to get it to. And then there'll be like a natural progression onto the next map. I haven't got a time limit I can't see a time limit for Oakfield. I can think of too many things I want to do before that time limit. So I'm just going to like, keep going and going and going, and I don't feel like I'm going to run out of enjoyment, I think is the best way to phrase it.
I already have plans for the second year on that map.
Yeah.
Of how I want to expand the farm and the new stuff I want to do, and while people are still watching it, I am absolutely going to keep playing.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. The second question, I think I might know the answer to this question. Favorite mod of all time, and that can either be a mod or a script.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Okay.
I have two, and one is a script and one is a mod. The script is Seasons. Seasons is just a massive, massive game changer. I can't emphasize how much it changes the game. And then just adds that extra level of realism to it. Yeah. And mod, it's the T-dubs.
I knew it. And yeah, I even like panned my camera around to focus in on the TW ring.
To the point where when Oakfield came along, I had to stop myself using the T-dubs on that map because I just overused them in my last few series.
Well, it will be nice when there's a certain DLC on the horizon when that launches, and we all assume of an equal, if not better quality than the T-dub. That the T-dub will get a little bit of a rest as we just all jump onto this new DLC and use it in every way possible. And then the T-dub will be a breath of fresh air again.
I would love to see Matt turn his hand to a 7810.
I think I've mentioned this on your stream before. If I could get a 7810 of the quality of this T-dub, I would be happy. I wouldn't need another mod again. Oh, yeah. Just, you know.
No, I would. That would be it. I would be right. This is my 7810, and this is all I am driving.
Everything else is irrelevant. I have what I need. Excellent. And finally, quickfire question number 3. If I was completely new to the whole farm sim community, be it the game, the forums, the YouTube channels, who would you tell me to go and look at first, or who would you tell me to go and talk to on a forum? Which personality would be someone you would tell me, oh, you've got to go and check this guy out?
Ooh.
If it's easier, you can have a couple.
Yeah, I think purely because he got me enthusiastic for the game. I think Landy is a great YouTuber and well worth checking out his stuff.
Definitely.
He doesn't play overly realistically, but plays really, if you know what I mean. So he plays the game for what it is, which is fantastic, and and you can learn an awful lot from somebody doing it.
Yeah, definitely. And there's not really a thing he doesn't really know about Farming Simulator. You know, he's covered all. He's seen them across every single version.
And he is the longest running farm sim YouTuber.
Yeah,
you know, he's been playing farm since 2009, and I think he's been doing videos since 11, possibly.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, there is very little he doesn't know about farm sim. The other person that I would shout out and I would go check them out would be Gamer Dragon, because
GD,
I love his channel. He's a fellow YouTuber from North, and I just want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well, because he puts so much effort into his stuff, and he works so hard at his channel, and I think he deserves a bit of recognition.
I found him through your channel as well, actually, through a shout out I think he may have done once upon a time on one of your streams, and yeah, I subscribe to him. He's definitely worth a sub and worth a follow.
And he doesn't just do farm sim, but but you know, I found him for his farm sim content.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, at this stage, Virgil, all that is left for me to say is thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your precious evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed having you along with me for the day. Whoever owns these 2 fields that we've cut will either be delighted or furious. One of the 2 ways. But we'll let them figure that one out. For anyone who doesn't know where to find you, how can they follow what you're doing?
Easiest way to find me is to go to virtualfarmer.tv, which will take you directly to my YouTube channel.
Excellent, perfect. So go and check that out. I will put a link into the description down below for that one as well. But yeah, again, thank you very much, buddy. Really, really appreciated it. I hope if you are still with us up to now, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to if you haven't already, check out Virtual Farmer's YouTube channel. And from there, I'm sure we can find links I'll put some links in for Facebook and Discord servers. And then also, if you have enjoyed today's little Growing Understanding episode, then do remember to hit that thumbs up button. And we will see you in the next one. But until then, from myself and Virtual, thanks very much for watching. Do stay safe, enjoy what you're doing, and until next time, happy farming.